Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I would love for you to introduce your wife to us, because you didn't do that I noticed. Now, you may have, but she's beautiful, and everybody needs to know who she is. Women are so important. Please stand up and do that. Stand up. Yeah, she has a beautiful spirit. I'm so glad she's here. She has a beautiful spirit. One of the reasons why I like talking before him is he always lets me take as long as I want. So I have to tell this little story before I introduce him. And it kind of talks about me before I ever married him. So you'll kind of get the idea. But it tells about a young couple who moved into a new neighborhood. And the next morning, they were eating breakfast together. And the wife, she's looking out at the neighbor, and the neighbor's hanging out her clothes. And she tells her husband, her laundry isn't very clean. I think she needs to buy some new soap. Well, her husband never says a word. He just looks on, and he stays quiet. Well, every day, the neighbor hung her clothes out, and the wife had a kind of a rude comment to say about her wash. A month passed, and the woman, in surprise, when they were sitting and eating breakfast, the wash was clean as can be. And she told her husband, wow, it looks like she might have found some new laundry detergent to use. And she said, I wonder who taught her maybe how to wash clothes. And her husband looked at her and replied, I just got up early this morning and washed our windows. Okay, and so it is with life, right? What we see, watching others, depends on the clarity of the window through which we look. My husband's got God's window all over him. I count it such a high privilege to introduce this man of God. Yes, he's my husband, but he's also my buddy, my confidant, my spiritual leader, and he leads our family with integrity and godliness as his bodyguard. He is the absolute love of my life. And yes, Bruce, I want everybody in the world to know I am his and he is mine. When we married on 6/19/10, I know that doesn't seem a long time ago, but to me, it's been very long, but it's been a very good time. When we married on 6/19/10, grace, pure and simple, poured into my life. His love for me, it just gentled my soul. It was a great life. But then something really happened to us on 10/10/10. Our marriage went to a whole new level. That is the date of our marriage blessing. Our marriage soared in commitment, it soared in kindness, and in deep, everlasting love. I know without a doubt, I will be his wife through eternity. My husband, Bishop Rouse, is a consecrated bishop in the United Kingdom International Fellowship. He's also a professor at the seminary in New York. He is the national co-chair of the American Clergy Leadership Conference over the 50 states, and he still does many, many, many things internationally. And tomorrow morning, he and Reverend Dunkley will be installed as co-pastors of the Family Church in New York City. But beyond all that he has achieved, and he has won many, many awards, but beyond all that, I want you to really know the man that I know. He's a loving husband. He's kind and gentle. He's an understanding father. Our 5 children love him so very much. He's a delightful grandfather and a playful great-grandfather. He is a man who can relate to seniors and even to children. Our 5-year-old granddaughter Presley will say, Papa Rouse, let's dance and then play hide and seek. And he does it. I mean, this serious man that we all know, he is kind of serious, right? Yeah. Okay. You should see him playing hide and seek with Presley. It's adorable. One day I'll tape it and we'll put it on the screen. Okay, no, I won't. He loves God with every ounce of his being, and he spreads the gospel of Jesus Christ and the importance of being in a blessed marriage to everyone he meets. I tell my sister all the time, if a mosquito bites my husband, he'd fly away singing, "There's power in the blood." Oh, he is my darling dear, my prayer partner, and the person I most desire to spend time with. Even though it's not a lot, I cherish every second we're together. I just want to say to him, I am so delighted God gave me you to be my spouse. And may every married couple be so delighted. Please welcome my honey, my king, Bishop Rouse. It's getting longer and longer.
Yeah. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. Well, my wife is indeed the most wonderful person I've ever known in my life. And I never thought anyone could exceed that expression, given my parents, the way my parents were my best of friends, both of them, and our children. I mean, they're just dear. But I have to admit, I woke up 2:15 this morning and looked over at her, and I said, God, you know, this is the best of the best of the best of the best. And I am blessed that she is part of me. So thank you, thank you. I've stood up just for a little while, just so that I could see everybody. I really want to be sitting there and responding to your questions, but as I looked around, I couldn't see every face in my beginning of speech, and I wanted to do that. I want to do that for specific reasons that has to do with God. I want to see God through each of you. And that's important for me during this time of the year. For every year at September the 11th through February the 7th, I ask people over the world to pray through Psalms. Starting on September the 11th, go 150 days, praying consecutively the Psalm, equal to that number of days. For the Spirit of the Lord asked me in 2012 to do that for the sake of ending terrorism and then to continue for the sake of world peace, that we might have peace. And I wondered, you know, why, Lord? And it was revealed to me that in the Psalms, we have the wellspring of prayers. In the Psalms that do not contain a prayer, we have every emotion of human existence expressed, from the bad to the good, from the good to the bad. It's in there. And that in the Psalms, we come with the theology, really, that ought to be the bedrock of Christianity. The theology of Christ, of Jesus, the life-changing experience are expressed in the Psalms. In Psalm 2, one begins to hear that God speaks not only of a begotten being from the substance directly, without the seed of man, but in that psalm, it says that God looked upon his son and said, "Today you are made my son. I have begotten you." Which means that God can take that which he has created and announce upon us at various times in our being who we are truly as an essence part of God. And that is divinely important for us. I want to see God in you. I want to see you begotten, made to be right here, right now, by God in each one of us. That's what will bring about world peace. When God is dwelling in every home, in every marriage, in every family, husband, wife, children. When everybody around the world can pray through these Psalms and find that God comforts us through every experience, then may we live for others instead of self. And in living for the other, may we all seek to do good, no harm to one another. That brings peace in this world. Dr. Simeo, I always see God in you from the first time that I met you. And I didn't know that you were the theologian that you are. I saw God in your peaceful demeanor, your look of sincerity. That's the look that we all ought to possess and see. I saw God when I first met Marie, and never knowing that she would be my wife. And I told her, before I had any clue, her daughter had been my client as I practiced therapy. But then when I met her and saw her, I told her later, there is a shining light upon you of God. And I said to her at that time that she should be preaching, and she says, no way. And then later in life, when I would go back to search for her, I was in South Carolina at the time when I first met her, but I was in New York at the time when the Spirit led me to search for her. And I asked her daughter, where's your mother? Is she married? And her daughter said, no, she's not married. I said, what do you think about your therapist dating your mother? And she says, please. I said, well, there's one thing to ask you, but ask your mother. And sure enough, I was met with that when a month later, I was back in the area, and indeed, I called her up, and she says, Kayla told me you would be calling, and I just want you to know right now, I don't know about dating a preacher. But now she's preaching. And next year, we're going to have our bishop's convocation up here, and we're going to license her to be the preacher that God has called her to be. I see God in my wife. We see God in our children. And she spoke of Presley, our granddaughter, and Presley has my heart all twisted, all kind of ways. And I look at a picture of her and I just thank God for her all over and over. But this girl is given such wisdom from God. I see God in her. I want us to see God in each other. I want to see God in the marriage of Curtis and Melita. You know, if I before the day is over, I don't know, Bruce might go and get what I need to bless you. We need your marriage blessed. And we need it blessed because it's the right thing to do. It's incomplete without the blessing. And that's what Marie meant. It's one thing for us to go through the vows of marriage, but it's another thing for us to go through the blessing that God has inspired in one. People often ask the difference between Jesus Christ and Sun Myung Moon. It's an interesting thing because it became a controversial thing that a man from Korea could come into America with such profound energy and truth. And individuals began to follow. Others become envious. Some even jealous. Some even curious to the extent to think that this guy is trying to replace Jesus. When all that I heard in his preaching and what I have gained to know more as I followed the teaching is that he was the most devout man in the times through Jesus Christ that was leading people because of the call of Jesus Christ on his life at the age of 16. And when I found that he was called at the age of 16, that just resonated with me because I was called and cemented and given a ministry of reconciliation at the age of 16. And I knew how the Holy Spirit set upon my life to guide me to work reconciliation in South Carolina, even racial reconciliation in one of the most prejudiced and racist states of America. But they embraced me. Never was I threatened because of it. Black, white, Native Americans all embraced that God had called me to a ministry of racial reconciliation. If Reverend Moon had received that same embrace in his home of Korea, I was born in South Carolina, if he had received it in the place that he was born, perhaps he never would have come to America. Perhaps it would have spread without him having to come to America. So in a way, I owe a debt of gratitude to Korea that they missed the opportunity to seize the moment, that he's come to America, that America might seize the moment. We are seizing this moment now to make real throughout all of the world that no, he wasn't Jesus Christ. He didn't need to be Jesus Christ, but he is one called by the Savior to bring the ultimate completion to the salvific act of God for humanity. We are not completely saved until we are all saved. My salvation is incomplete without the salvation of my wife. Our salvation is incomplete without the salvation of our family. We are blessed, and I want you blessed because the salvation, spiritual and physical, comes in the blessing. So we want all of the world, every family blessed. The American Clergy Leadership Conference exists for that reason, that purpose. We want people throughout this nation. And now, as Mother Moon comes to announce in December, we're going to be working for people to know throughout the world, and it has already started, that clergy called by God, inspired by Jesus Christ, with God dwelling in us, we are going to, not want to, we are going to bless everybody that will receive the blessing. We are blessing people in taxis, in Ubers. We are carrying the blessing. I carry members in the car with me if I'm leaving the church and rushing back. I have 2 members that live in the same place that I do, and I tell them, come ride with me. And when we're riding in the car, they take the cue from me. I'll tell them who the Uber's name is. And when they know the driver's name, they begin to say, you have sitting by you. And then they begin the blessing process. And I want you to know that every time they've done it, not one has rejected. They have received the blessing. And their life shall be changed. Their family shall be changed. A few have called their spouse, both male and female, on the phone to say, I have just received the blessing. I will explain it all to you when I get home. Let us bless and bless and bless that the fulfillment of the mission that was given to Reverend Sun Young Moon may be done, not only in the United States of America, but we're going back to where he was rejected, in his own home country. We're going to Korea at the end of October. We'll be there the first 4 days of November, and we want to shake it up. We want the Christian community there now to recognize that this is real. It is sincere. It is the movement of Christ. It is God enacting his will again upon all people, that mothers and fathers will recognize themselves in God, and they will reach out to others that others may recognize too, and everybody will come to receive this restoration to the original intent of God. God desires for us to live right. When I read the 4th Psalm this morning, it reminded me, trust in the Lord. Brothers and sisters, I want us to trust in the Lord here in New York. When we trust in the Lord and work together in every borough, in every corner, on Long Island, when we work trusting in God, God is going to deliver more than we can even conceive. God will always do beyond that which God has even given us to think, that it is upon us to make real the reality of God. He will. See, I can remember when I was first called at age 5 and then again at age 12. And I would tell my father I wanted to preach, and he would say, no, you got to wait. My father and mother both were preachers. And he says, no, you got to wait. And I said, but there's other young people preaching. He says, but they're not in my house. You got to wait. And then when I became 16 and God gave me that ultimate experience, I didn't ask my father. One day he came into my room and he said, are you ready? And I said, I've been ready. He said, then meet me at the church this evening. We're going to pray over you and you can get started. I was still naive then, though. I thought that because they were starting me on my journey, that all of my friends were immediately going to be saved. Through all of the vision that I got, I saw all of my buddies that I played ball with, that I ran track with, that we were on the football field together, basketball together, that I played tennis again. All of them were going to just join hands with me, and we would save the world. When I went out, Brother Edwards on the street singing Amazing Grace, and only 2 of them would go with me. I quickly learned that God does not want me to get out of sync with what God would have for me to do. God desires for me to stay in my lane, and he will bring others in their lane. And then we all together can travel and meet the destination where God would have us to go. Some of you may think that it is an awesome task that ACLC has before it. You may think that it's an impossible dream. You may think that there's no way that we're going to reach beyond the skies, or that we will ever touch the stars. Well, you're probably right. But I want to tell you something that one of my favorite presidents of the United States of America said. He was talking about the way in which we ought to strive towards peace, even then. And I was a young man when he was killed and taken away from the world. And that was John F. Kennedy. I was only 7 years old when he was killed, 8 years old when he was killed. And I can remember, though, I used to look at that television and I wanted to eat every word that he would say. As I grew older, I wanted to read every word that he had ever written. And one of those words sticks with me today. The word on peace, he says, peace is not some fallacy. It's not a fantasy peace, but it is a peace that seeks cooperation. World peace that we are searching for, it is a cooperative peace where people who have different ideas and different thoughts in their minds will come together and cooperate with one another, not try to harm each other or destroy one another. That's the making of peace. It is not about dropping the bomb because you can drop a bomb. It's more about reaching out a hand because you can reach out a hand. It's about saying your opinion is your opinion. But when our hands unite together, may our hearts join together, and we love one another through our differences. For the word of God says we are to even love our enemies. And when we love our enemies that way, I believe Kennedy's words are true when he says, our ideas, our thoughts, ACLC, our ideas, our thoughts, Bruce, they are like the seafaring man who will look at the stars, not because he can touch those stars with his hand, but because he knows that if he follows those stars will lead him to his destination. Let us follow ACLC because with ACLC, it may seem we will never touch all that we talk about. But I guarantee you, if we follow what is being said, we will reach the destination of cooperative peace. And that's what we want in this world. So I want to give you this, those of you with ACLC here in the New York area, Connecticut area, and in the areas of New Jersey. Reverend Edna, I want to ask you to lead everybody in praying together. When we have our prayer breakfasts, I like to hear more prayer. I like to hear more scriptures. I like to hear more connectedness with the God who has called us to this. Amen. Our fellowship is good, but our praying changed things. Transformation will come when we are praying in our prayer breakfasts. Bruce said that we're moving soon to having them once a week. I want you to go there right now. Start now, today. Plan your next one for next week and the week after. Continue those until we have reached where God will have us to reach. And I believe God will speak through each one of us. It doesn't just stop with the words from Mother Moon, which are dynamic and powerful words, but it also carries with the word that she has given each one of us. We are chosen. If we are chosen, that means that God is speaking through us. You've got to follow the word that God is speaking through you and make sure that you're praying together over that word. Then watch what God will do. I want us to do more, Pastor, and we're going to follow you, follow your lead. You tell us to come together and study, we'll come together and study. The pastor's forums are just religious forums. Bishop Edwards, when you lead, Bishop Edwards is our evangelist. When you call us together in seminars, we're coming so that we can understand better what the word is, what the divine principle is that's been given as a fresh wind of spirit, as a new wine to go into our vessels. We need to receive them and allow God to bless us over and over again to be a blessing to everybody else. Isn't that amazing? That we are blessed to be a blessing. I want us today to do everything that we can to continue the work that has been embodied within Dr. Hachahan Moon, who is married to Reverend Sanyang Moon, who was touched by Jesus Christ and taught so well. Get this, taught so well that the one who was with him the most knew the truth, the essence of who he really is. See, I joined that too. Just like I joyed in knowing that he was called at 16 and I could connect with that. I didn't know this before, but I know it now. See, when I went through my divorce and my sons, my daughters were telling me, Dad, you can, and I said, no, don't y'all even talk to me about getting married again. I don't even want to hear it. My church members would come, I don't want to hear it. And then my son met Marie, and he says, Dad, if you don't marry her, you won't know what true love is all about. I get it now. I get that true love is being with somebody that you can know inside and out, and they know you inside and out. And together you see God in each other. You feel God in each other. And you know that love is sincere. That you know at your worst time, they will bring you to your best time. That is an amazing thing to hear a woman who does not have to. She has enough money that she could just go off and wander in the world. And said he did his thing and it's all over. And leave all the rest of us to wonder and think, what do we do now? But because she knew the truth, she went to the site of his burial every day, praying and promising to do the best she could to fulfill what God had called in him. That's now a call in her. And because it is there, she is calling each one of us as chosen people. Go the distance. Go all the way. Not half the way. Not even 75% of the way. Not 90. 91 and a half won't do. But go 100% plus with all that you have. And I want to tell you today that one thing that you can know about Luonne Rouse, I am not sidestepping God. I am stepping with God. And I'm going all the way. I'm going to trust in the Lord beyond the day that I die, because I know that God has a place for my spirit. I know that God has a place for my soul. I know that God has a place for my love. And I want you to take this journey too, that one day when it's all over, we will be able to say, like I heard the old folks say in my day, and now that I'm among the old folk, I'm going to say to you, oh, when we get there, oh, what a time, what a time, what a time, what a time.